Hi, welcome back. This is the second rendition of me talking you through all of the lessons that I've learned as a founder this week, and there's been quite a few. So if you don't know me, I'm Elizabeth, I'm 27, I built a business on my laptop and now I travel the world. I'm currently in Bali, and yeah, I feel like it might as well just get straight into it. First thing that has been particularly prominent or that I've been thinking about a lot in the last couple of days is about personal branding. So if you don't know, I have grown my personal brand on LinkedIn to over 50,000 people, and there's a lot of talk at the moment about personal brand, like why you should build a personal brand and all, why is it so important and blah blah blah. But I think that actually we might be getting it a little bit confused, because I know so many people right now that are building a personal brand in a certain niche, and you know, most of the time for me it's people on LinkedIn building a personal brand around the fact that they're a personal brand builder, right? So I think we're getting into tricky territory where if you're building a personal brand where you would lose followers if you completely shifted your niche, you're not building a personal brand. You're essentially you're building like a glorified job title for yourself. Like, I think when I was first building my personal brand, like we're talking beginning of 2024, I was literally just posting about who I was, right? And fine, okay, I'll admit I wasn't, converting clients at this point, right? But I was just talking about what I was building at the time, which actually was a journaling app. I was talking about that. I was talking about what I was learning personally about that journey. I was talking about what I was actually thinking and what I was feeling and the lessons that I was learning as a person. Like when we talk about like founder-led, it was about me as a founder and how I'm being impacted by the work, not about the work itself. I think that I actually managed to build a durable personal brand because I was only basically talking about me and myself. And that essentially brought me to this point where when I decided to pivot into something completely different, which was community, I had the people that were invested in me follow me on that journey. Like, it wasn't like a big mass exodus, or my post didn't start to tank just because I started talking about something else. Because I feel like if you build yourself a brand that's super like niche and people don't actually know you for you, then what you haven't done is built a true fan base. You've just built a group of people that are just extracting value from you all the time and don't actually see you as a person. So that sort of like brought me onto the concept, and again, that I think we've been talking about a little bit in the club as well this week, the concept of 1,000 true fans, right? Like, I think when it comes to building a personal brand, the thing that everyone should really be focusing on is building that connection with 1,000 true fans that would buy literally anything from you. I'm not saying that in terms of like, oh, you should be, building something that you could monetize any old thing. I'm just saying that you want people to know you for you. And if you're not building that, then you're not building a personal brand. The concept of 1,000 true fans is like a really, really old article, but it's this idea that if you actually invest in the people that will truly support you no matter what you do, then you're essentially set for life. We're trying to all get to this like massive number in terms of like following, especially on LinkedIn, but obviously on every single social platform. But we actually don't put the extra effort into engaging with the people who are those true fans that would find any opportunity to support you, to work with you, what that might be. I feel like I've definitely found some of those people, and those are the people that should always benefit the most. And I think that that is also the other part of this, right? It's like you can't have 1,000 true fans without pouring back into them, without doing something special for them. Maybe an interesting thing to think about in terms of like, out of the following that you have, out of the brand that you have, could you, first of all, pivot from that thing without significantly losing reach, without significantly changing, like without switching up everything about yourself? Because I've seen plenty of people do that on LinkedIn, where they built an entire brand just talking about their business or just talking about their brand, and then they move on to something else and everything dips. Nobody cares anymore. And it's a real shame, because they as a person are actually interesting, they just didn't let us see that. And then off the back of that, I would encourage you to consider how many of the people that are already following you would you fit under the category of 1,000 true true fans? Like, how many of them are true fans that you know would support you in whatever you do, that you know that are looking for ways to work with you? I know that it's like a whole thing of like, you know, you are the niche. And I feel like when it comes to personal branding, you have to make yourself the niche. So many people doing the exact same thing as you. And the only thing that separates you, the only thing that separates you as a service provider from another service provider, the only way that differentiates you getting inbound versus everyone else doing outbound, for example, nothing wrong with outbound, but still, is that people actually already know you. Like, people actually could stalk your profile and get an idea of if you're a person that they want to work with, not necessarily just your services, because the services are generally the same. Like, what you can provide as a marketer, or what you can provide as a social media person, or what you can provide as like a VA or as a data scientist or whatever, is pretty much the same as everyone else. So really, your main job with your content, at least I find, not only does it actually also do better, in my opinion, but like, your real job is to just show as much of who you are as possible. If you're struggling to land dream clients, I can guarantee you it's because you're not putting yourself out there enough. Like, you're not showing the world who you truly are. Because if you were showing the world who you truly are, the people that aren't your dream clients, the people that are nightmare clients, wouldn't want to work with you in the first place. Every single thing that you do in your business is essentially just one more bid, one more domino of you putting yourself into the spotlight and you really authentically showing up as who you are. And the more that you do that, every single one of those is a play, and that is what allows people to find you that actually want to work with you, that are actually your dream clients. And that's what allows you to also be top of mind for people, is if they feel like they've built a relationship with you and they know who you are and they know your, you know, a little bits of your personal life, and they know your quirks and they know how you think. Like, those are the things that differentiate you. As much as it is important to show what you actually, you know, offer and provide, if you have 1,000 true fans, if you have real people that really care about what you're doing, they will find a way to work with you, no matter what the price is. And then the second thing that I was actually reminded of out of this concept was the idea of the first follower. I don't know if anyone's seen this video, it's really, really old. Martin showed me this ages ago. I think it was when we actually first met, but this idea of a first follower. So you've got your 1,000 true fans, that's fine. But the way that you start with your 1,000 true fans, the catalyst from you to go to 0 to 1,000 is that first one. I think we don't really talk enough about the importance of the first follower. This week, and just in general in the last couple of like weeks in the club, a lot of the girls have like hosted masterclasses, and it was the same for me with Business Besties last week when I was talking about this. Is like, with Business Besties, I had a small moment where I thought that I might not have enough people that were going to join it for it to be super valuable for people. So I called on some of my friends to be like, listen, it would be really helpful if you came. And that is essentially the idea of a first follower, right? Is like, who is the person that in whatever scenario you're in teaches other people that it is safe to follow you? Because it's like the whole video, I'll link it because it's an interesting video, it's only 2 minutes long, but essentially it's this idea of like, there's a guy like dancing in the field and he looks like an idiot, but he's brave enough to make that first move. He's brave enough to embarrass himself publicly and to stand for what he believes in, right? And then the second person comes along. So up until this point, he's looked like a complete menace. And then someone else has the courage to come and join him. That's the first follower. And something funny happens after that, where it's like they look like they're a little bit crazy together. They've both put themselves out on a limb together. And the person who started the whole thing celebrates this person, puts the focus on this person, brings him in as an equal. They're now partners in this thing. And that allows other people to feel safe to also join. So as soon as that the other people have seen that he's gained his first follower, they're like, okay, well, I'm not going to also look like a crazy person if I join these two. So the third person joins, and then there's 2 more people that join, and then all of a sudden he's created this movement, right? There's like a group of people that all are being celebrated together, that have made this decision, that have made a vote for who they want to be, and now it's almost weird for the people sat on the sidelines on the field. It's almost weird for them to not join in. At a point, the thing flips, and the people who are actually sat on the ground are the people that look like the crazy people. Essentially, it's social proof, right? And this is what happened in these masterclasses, right? So like when it was Business Besties, 3 of the Journey girls came to support me, and it was such a relief and it was so meaningful to me that they were actually like the first people to unmute themselves and to talk, and they were all bubbly and having a great time, and it showed other people that they were safe to also enjoy themselves and also safe to unmute themselves and to talk crap and to whatever. It's happened a couple of other times actually, where I obviously run an online community for solo female founders, and there is such a supportive element to that. The support that we give each other is so valuable, because oftentimes we're each other's first follower. One of us is, oh, wasp. They're each other's first follower. So like when one of us is launching something new, and it's happened so many times where someone's launched a new offer, a new lead magnet, blah, 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 blah. One of the 30 founders in this community has been the first person to try it and the first person to give a review or a testimonial. It's the same in the masterclasses. A couple of months ago, one of the girls was doing a masterclass. I obviously went to support her. I tried to support all of the girls. I also spotted 2 other Journey girls there, and I just thought that was really wholesome and it was really lovely. And there was another one where one of the Journey girls hosted a masterclass, and it was only Journey girls and one other person, like one external person. And because obviously the Journey girls were there to support, it lended so much more credibility to her because there was more faces. So that one person that wasn't obviously part of the club and maybe didn't know that we were all part of the club looks at this room and thinks, wow, this person's drawn a crowd, this person has something interesting to say, all these people want the same thing that I want out of this masterclass, so this person must be valuable. For that girl, it was such a relief to have that first follower, the person that is brave enough, because there's trust there, to show up, to speak on volume, to turn yourself off mute, to turn your camera on, like all of those things that sometimes people avoid. People go with the crowd. So if all of the Journey girls, if all of the people, if your first follower has their camera on, everyone else is like, oh shit, well clearly this is a camera on situation, so I should have my camera on too. And in that specific instance, because all of the other girls in the club took a little bit of a step back and let the girl whose masterclass it was focus on the one person who wasn't in the club, that client ended up signing because they got so much attention from her in that class, and they got something so valuable that clearly other people wanted as well. All of that to say that having the people in place that you know you can rely on to lend you a little bit of that social credibility, to support you, to show other people how it is done. That's the whole point of a first follower, is to show other people that it is safe to interact with you, to trust you, to work with you. When you do finally find someone that is super supportive of you publicly, that person needs to be celebrated, that person needs to be treated in a way, that person needs to be your king or queen. They're the person that is the catalyst for everybody else in the world to trust you, for everybody else in the world to see that you are doing something valuable, and that can't go unnoticed. Those are the 2 concepts that I found really important this week, that have been on my mind again based on everything that's happened in the club. And then in the community, if you're running online communities, if you're trying to build something a little bit more private, again, when you're starting a community, I did the same thing with my friend Hannah and my friend Anna. They sound like, 2 evil twins. Hannah and Anna both joined to be my first followers, to help me set the standard, to help other people see that replying to my messages or coming to the calls, blah, 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 was safe for other people to do. And it really does work. It really is useful to have that first person. So if you're starting any sort of group coaching, if you're starting any sort of community, I mean, even just the first one is fine before you have testimonials. It's so important to have the person in the group that sets the tone and shows everyone else what the expectation is that's not you, because you're the leader, you're the authority figure. So people need someone that is their equal to be able to see what the appropriate way to behave is in whatever closed circuit you're running. And then lastly, the last thing that I wanted to talk about was actually based on what happened on Friday. This is your sign for you to get all of your friends together and write a fuck it list. It's a little bit like a bucket list, but instead of it being of all the things that you're excited to do, it's all of the things that you're most terrified of. Maybe it's some of the things that you've been putting off, but really we're talking about like the big scary things. All of the things where you have to like silently like just go, fuck it, and just like press send. Because I have to do that before basically every email that I send. So when we did our fuck it list on Friday, I noticed that to soothe a little bit of that fear, we were still putting things on our fuck it lists that were too big and quite like, you know, that felt quite out of reach. And really, that is still a form of like self-preservation. That is still a form of creating safety within yourself, because really the things that need to go on the fuck it list are the steps that are so doable and so close that actually those are the ones that are the scariest. Those are the ones that we will put off. So it's great for a TED Talk to be on your fuck it list, but actually the thing that is more scary than doing the talk is actually the thing that is the most imminent, which is for you to write like a blurb about yourself and to send it to someone, to make that bet to someone else, to publish. So, and I noticed that a couple of the girls were also setting their standards, even then, a little bit too high, higher than what was actually really uncomfortable. You'd think that reaching out to 5 different publications is actually the thing where you say fuck it, but it's not. It's actually just the first one. It's the first time that you send that email to that specific person asking for this specific opportunity where you have to be like, The second one and the third one might be a little bit easier. So that at that point, you're postponing the celebration of the actual fuck it list item that is actually moving the needle, which is the first ever email. You're actually postponing that to when you've done a couple more, because we're not ready to accept that that one small action was actually the scariest part. So when it came to say like, oh, I want to post something on YouTube or I want to post something on Instagram, it's actually not the recording of it that is the fuck it list item. I wanted to be really specific about what it actually is. And in this case, it was the publishing of it. It wasn't the making of it. The making of it is scary, but it's not the thing where you have to click enter and like relinquish all power to the universe. So that was a really interesting thing for us to talk about, is like, what is the big scary thing that you're hiding behind so that you don't have to deal with the fact that the small scary thing is actually way more in reach, and that's what makes it so terrifying. So that was our little exercise of the week this week for the club. And if you've never written your own fuck it list, then I definitely recommend doing that. And then also obviously going in one day a week and just ticking off a couple of those, just as like a game. I heard someone on a podcast the other day also say like that her and her friend would dare each other to do things every day. And I think that's also a really interesting concept, is like find yourself like a dare buddy and message each other every single day with a dare. Like, I dare you to reach out to this person, or I dare you to post this piece of content, or I dare you to blah, blah, blah. And I think that's such an interesting and such a fun concept, because I feel like if someone dared me to do something, now it's not just like an accountability thing. I've not just said that I'm going to do it. Now someone else, like my reputation with this other person that I've now got a game with, is actually like hangs in the balance, essentially. So that was a super interesting point as well. I also had a really interesting revelation, right? Because I'm basically like addicted to work. And I love doing work. I love working all the time. But I found myself in a situation where I've actually been more useful and more valuable to the people that I work with and the friends that I talk to every single day when I'm inputting new information and connecting the dots between interesting concepts for myself. So I found that I've been reading a lot more in the last couple of weeks. And the stuff that I've been learning from the books that I've been reading have obviously influenced what advice I'm giving to the girls in the club. And they're shaping my offers and the way that I see the world and the way that I see business. And I've sort of come to realise that maybe me reading and me learning is actually part of my job. Like, it's actually part of the way that I provide value to the girls in the community. That's been a really big breakthrough for me, because it's like almost permission to go out and read more stuff, but I also enjoy doing that. And I also used to feel so guilty about doing that, but now that I know that I'm actually doing it not just for my benefit, but for the benefit of the people in the club, the benefit of clients I might potentially work with one day, and also the benefit of, you know, whoever is unfortunate enough to listen to all of this. There's a lot of value in there, and I get to be the person that relays that in a way that resonated with me, which would hopefully resonate with you. So yeah, like, learning new stuff and exploring and experimenting is part of my job, and it's probably also part of yours if you're especially a service-based business, but even product, like anything that you're selling to other people will be informed by the person that you are. And if you can further that person, further your mind, expand your mind, then the things that you offer will inherently be more valuable. So yeah, I feel like I've got loads of other things that I'd actually want to talk about, but I might save that for another day. This is everything that I've learned this week, and if you're a young female founder that is also working on her business, especially if you're solo, then I hope this helped you. I hope this was somewhat interesting, and if you are looking for more young female founders like yourself that you want to work with, that you want to connect with, that have these kinds of conversations with, or if you want to work with me directly, everything is below about Journey Girls Club, about how to work with me. So anyway, yeah, I will see you soon. Bye.